Good morning. My name is Emily McKinley. I'm the Deputy Chief with LMPD. So one of the things, along with these biweeklies that we started doing within LMPD when it comes to communication internally and externally, we started holding department-wide roll calls. And so we held those, we held two of them yesterday. So at 8 a.m., we had a department-wide roll call, and essentially it's a WebEx link that is sent out to the entire department. The division roll calls are expected to log on to the WebEx link. Sergeants can view the command staff at a location, and we can deliver essential updates or answer questions to any and all officers that are working for that shift. And so we did that yesterday at 8 a.m. We did it yesterday at 8 p.m. We did it today at 8 a.m. and we'll do it tonight at 8 p.m. So we've tried to do those quarterly. Started that about a year ago. It's gone over well. We get a lot of good questions from officers. It gives us the opportunity to really get in front of the entire department, not just officers, our professional staff as well. Give them updates on what's going on from our perspective, and receive feedback from them and answer their questions as well. So that's been really instrumental in helping establish good, clear communication lines within the structure of LMPD, along with these biweekly press conferences. So always trying to improve on communication strategies and getting information out to the public and to our officers and to our employees. One of the things that we talked about today in this department-wide roll call this week was our mission statement. So a few weeks ago, the chief sent out a survey to the department asking them to reevaluate our mission statement. Our mission statement had existed since the inception of LMPD when we were created back in 2003. It was kind of long and convoluted. It was several sentences. I don't know if anybody could really recite it off the top of their head. So we wanted to bring everybody back together, ask them what do they see our mission as, how do they want their mission to be articulated to the department and to the community, and we wanted their feedback on that. And so we did that survey, and with the command staff, with some common theme words, we were able to create a one-sentence mission statement for LMPD, and that is, the mission is to enhance the safety and quality of life for all people by enforcing the law and preserving peace while holding ourselves to the highest ethical standards. And so common words that we received from the department that they wanted echoed in their mission were dedication to the people we serve and to each other. They wanted to, they mentioned constitutional and ethical policing, and they mentioned transparency internally and externally. They mentioned a focus on problem-solving strategies within the community, maintaining open communication within the department and with the community, and just being respectful to all people, whether that's with their peers or with members of the public. And so this is the mission statement that we created based off of that feedback. We will replace that with the mission statement that's on our website, as well as the mission statement within our policy. So just want everybody to be aware of that simple and concise mission that we will use to make all of our decisions. So any decision that any officer makes, it should tie back to this mission statement. We want everybody to understand and own this and know how we make decisions, and this is what's guiding that. So just going over the crime overview that we normally go through in these biweeklies. So things continue to trend in the right direction. Homicides are down 33% compared to this time last year. We have 47 homicides compared to 72 this time last year. Same with shootings. Shootings are down 28%. We have 113 shootings this year compared to 157 shootings last year. And those are shooting victims, not necessarily incidents. So you may have multiple victims in one incident. Carjackings also continue to trend downward significantly at 37% down. So 40 carjackings this year compared to 63 this time last year. One of the things that is trending upward right now is our business robberies. They're up about 15%. Now, if you look at the numbers, it's a difference of 4. A lot of the times the same suspect is involved in a number of business robberies. So oftentimes the same suspect might commit 2, 3, 4 business robberies in a row, and we're able to often solve these. We have a high clearance rate with our business robberies, so we're often able to clear business robberies with a single arrest. And we get a lot of tips from the public and the media, using the media to push out surveillance video when we get suspects on video. So we appreciate that. Hope to have that number go down in the future. I'm now going to turn it over to Assistant Chief Donnie Burbrink. He's going to discuss the Highlands and Bardstown Road issues that we've had over the past few weekends.
Good morning. The last time we were gathered, we talked about the Bardstown Road corridor, the Highlands, and some of the social media posts that were out there about street takeovers. We put a plan in place this past weekend. We'll do so again this weekend to increase our patrol throughout that area, have more visibility, more walking patrols. Horse patrol will be out. Because of that, we did not have any significant issues at the Bardstown Road corridor this past weekend. On Friday, nothing really happened. We only had to tow about 5 vehicles. On Saturday, we made 2 arrests and we towed 4 vehicles, but 1 arrest was for DUI and 1 was for somebody that had warrants. About 11:15 Saturday night, 4th Division reported that they were getting a possible street takeover at the Zanzibar, which is right there on Preston Street north of Eastern Parkway. Because we had that detail in place on Bardstown Road, we were able to shift those resources pretty quickly over to that area, shut that down before it became a problem. I think we'd be naive to say that weather didn't play somewhat of a role for this past weekend, and it might this next weekend, but these are the things that we're going to continue to do in these areas to ensure that we're not letting people disrupt everybody else's good time in these areas.
Next, I want to remind everybody about the community commitment and the application deadline for the Community Safety Commission. Mayor Greenberg has spoken extensively about this commission and the application process. You can go to louisvilleky.gov /safe Louisville, and there's an application process to be a part of that Community Safety Commission. The deadline is Monday, June 16th. We really want people who have a wide variety of experiences and backgrounds to give input, not just on the community commitment and how LMPD is going to implement a lot of the policy and training reforms that are in that commitment, but also the Safe Louisville plan that Mayor Greenberg has rolled out, and implementing that plan and following up with that plan and making sure that plan is implemented effectively and is doing the job that it needs to achieve. There's also a listening session that's going to take place on next Tuesday, the 17th, as well as the 28th. I think the Tuesday one is at the YMCA on West Broadway at 18th and Broadway. It's a listening session about what the community would like to see in the monitor, the independent monitor that would oversee the implementation of the community commitment. The June 28th listening session is going to be at the Newburgh Community Center on Exeter Avenue. That's out in the 6th Division. So we encourage the community to apply to the Community Safety Commission as well as attend those listening sessions and input sessions that we want regarding that monitor selection. Now, I'm going to shift gears a little bit. 24 hours ago, this press conference, we probably would have talked about something different or different things going on. But there's things that happen in life that remind you that life is very fragile, that our time here is very short, and what matters most is often what we don't focus on. And we have to be reminded of our mission a lot of times. And I'm not talking about the mission of the police department, but our mission as people, as a community, and what the big picture of life is. And sometimes it's really easy to get caught up in the minutia of life and you lose sight of that. And things happen that really put you back into perspective and remind you of that. And so yesterday we lost one of our best detectives on LMPD. Michelle Rush, she served with LMPD for 10 years. She was 35 years old. She was a wife and she was a mom of 3 kids. She investigated the worst of the worst. She was a child abuse investigator. So she investigated child physical and sexual abuse cases, and she was extremely passionate about that, passionate about the work that she did. And I spoke to both of her sergeants yesterday independently, and they both told me that she was their best detective and that the rest of the unit would also say the same thing. They would have the same sentiment that she loved the work she did and she was the best that they had. And so I asked what she wanted to be remembered by, that we wanted to highlight her today. And they all talked about, there's one case that she was really took to heart. And it was from November of 2023. Officers responded to a house where they found an emaciated, bedridden little girl. And Detective Rush was the lead investigator that night, so she was called to investigate this case. She continued to work this case despite being diagnosed with cancer, and throughout her battle with cancer, she continued to investigate this case, ultimately leading to an indictment of both the child's parents. But this little girl, she was 22 pounds when they found her. She was 8 years old. So an 8-year-old, and she was 22 pounds, bedridden. She was nonverbal, non-mobile. She had bed sores that were to the bone. She had a diaper that hadn't been changed in a significant amount of time. She had a feeding tube that hadn't been used in months. It was moldy and it was rotten in her stomach. Her hair was matted and she was infested with bugs. And eventually they also learned that she had been sexually assaulted by her dad. She had and they learned that because she had a sexually transmitted disease, and that's how they were able to connect the sexual assault to her father. So the little girl was transported to Norton Children's Hospital. She was in a vegetative state, near fatal condition. The doctors said that this was the worst case that they have ever seen. And, that's one thing for detectives to get this case, but Michelle loved the work she did, and she loved the victims and the people that she served, especially the kids. And she visited this girl in the hospital daily, every day. Even on her days off, she went and visited this little girl in the hospital. Remind you that it was November of 2023. On Christmas, she went and decorated the little girl's room for Christmas. She sat and sang Christmas carols with her and played Christmas music with her in her room. And Michelle has her own family. She loved this little girl like her own because she knew that this little girl had never experienced love. She's never experienced that type of attention. She wanted to give that back to her and give her that opportunity. And over time, she started to gain weight, and she was able to eventually be released to the home of the innocents. I'm gonna play a video. This is when she was able to go and be released from the hospital. You'll see Michelle in the gray polo shirt that's pushing the bed as they walk through the hospital hallway. So Michelle saved that child's life, and she changed her quality of life, and that is so very important. That it's not about how it's about how you treat people, and it's about how you treat the most vulnerable people in our population, and that's why we do the work that we do. That's why we love the job that we do. It is a difficult job. There's a lot of challenging decisions that we make, but it's about how we show up when it matters the most, when people need us the most, when things get tough. And whether you make things better. And Michelle did that. She was determined to let this kid know that she was loved, she was cared for. So spend our time on the work that matters. It's exactly what Michelle did. It's exactly how you measure a life well lived, and that's exactly what Michelle did. She lived her life well, and we are so very proud of her. We will keep her family in our prayers during this time. We ask you all to do the same thing. There's also a fundraiser for her family for funeral expenses. This is on the Police Foundation. LMPD or LMPDF.org is our Louisville Metro Police Foundation website. There is a link there where you can donate for her fundraiser. I would also remind everybody there have been since in just the 24 hours there's been fake Venmo accounts and fake fundraising accounts. Please go to the Police Foundation website if you would like to donate. There are fake websites on the internet or on social media that's trying to solicit funding, and we ask people to go through the foundation to do that. So with that, I will open it up for questions.
The foundation helped Michelle when her child was sick.
Yes. So, our police foundation helps many officers through difficult times and their families, whether it's they might have a child that's sick or a spouse, or they might have suffered a severe injury at work or off duty. And so the foundation did work with Michelle and her family when her child was sick. This was several years ago, and they did do a fundraiser for her and her child.
Does LMPD plan anything to honor Michelle separately from being enrolled?
So the question was, does LMPD plan to do anything separately aside from the funeral to honor Michelle? Yesterday we did a gauntlet at the hospital so that we lined the hallways and the ambulance bay when they brought her out. So we did do a gauntlet with the honor guard at the hospital. She was draped in a flag, and we did do those honors at the hospital. We will do full graveside service for it's not a line of duty death, but it's a sworn member death. So we'll do, there will be graveside services that we'll do and honor her that way.
Her husband is a police officer as well.
Yes.
Can you just say he's obviously devastated?
Yeah, so Michelle's husband is a detective in our non-fatal shooting unit, and obviously he's just devastated like anyone would be, and he's trying to care for his 3 kids. We have a lot of support within our department. I know the homicide unit is stepping up to help cover some of the non-fatal shootings that might come out during the next week or so that his unit can help support him, and so we are appreciative of that. We have a lot of support within our department.
We spoke about this briefly. What kind of detective does it take to work in crimes against children?
Yeah, not everybody can do that job. You have to have compassion, and you have to be willing to seek justice for the most vulnerable people, and that is what Michelle exemplified every day. And she went above and beyond. Again, like I said, it wasn't that she just got assigned the case and she did the interviews and sought the indictment. She did all of that, but she took it a step farther and wanted to make sure the victim knew that she was loved, that she felt love, and that she knew that someone cared for her. And things like that are important, especially in these cases when you're dealing with a very vulnerable population, a very vulnerable group of people.
Switching gears a little bit in terms of these ICE protests that we've seen earlier this week, some more expected this weekend. How's LMPD responding in terms of public safety?
Yeah, question about the ICE protests and how we're responding in regards to public safety. Just that we're focused on public safety. So, we live in a country where one of the great American tenets is our freedom. We have our freedom of speech, and I'm so proud that we live in a country that allows us that opportunity and allows us that right to express our free speech and to protest and to assemble. And so we want to support that, and we will be focused on public safety. So if there's a public safety concern, we will be prepared to address that.
Is LMPD under orders from the chief or the mayor if ICE were to conduct an operation here in town, immigration enforcement? Are you guys under orders to help or not help or anything like that?
The question was if we're under orders to help or not help if ICE were to conduct an operation here. So we haven't assisted with ICE on any operation here locally. There is a policy. We can send you our policy on how we work with ICE or any sort of federal agency, so we're happy to send you what our policy is. But they have not asked our help for our assistance on any operation.
On potential protests, the community commitment mandates that LMPD create a mass demonstration plan to respond to large-scale demonstrations. It also mandates LMPD have media guidelines or guidelines for how its members interact with the media. Have those been created yet? And if these are event specific, have they been created for upcoming protests? And what can you tell us about those documents?
Right. So the question was, so the community commitment requires LMPD to create a mass demonstration plan as well as guidelines on handling the media in mass demonstrations. And have we done those? So we have a civil disturbance plan. We can share that with you as well. It's pretty lengthy. And we also have a policy on civil disturbances, and we provide guidance to officers on dealing with the media within those policies and within that the civil disturbance plan. When we get the independent monitor, we'll work with that monitor. We'll review our mass demonstration plan, or the civil disturbance plan as it is written right now. We'll also review our policies, work with the monitor to see if we need to make any adjustments there. But we're happy to share what we have today.
Have those changed since 2020, the last time we saw mass demonstrations?
Yes, there have been policy changes, so we can get those as well.
Sorry. Specific to Monday's protest, there have been Metro Council members who have expressed concern that the march down the street didn't have the proper permitting to do so. Is it true that they didn't have the permitting to do so? And can you kind of describe what the law surrounding those permitting requirements are?
Yes, so the question was about, there's been some conversation from some council members about permitting process and some of the demonstration and the protests that happened on Monday. There was not a permit for that. How do we handle it? So yes, there is a permitting process for demonstrations, whether you want to have a large gathering or you want to block a block off for a party or something like that. There are permits that you are to go through in order to do that. We are happy to facilitate that for people who want to gather or demonstrate, and we would even facilitate the protests and help and assist block streets off. We can absolutely do that, and we are supportive of doing that. If people want to apply for a permit, we can have police to assist you in your demonstration. No, there was not a permit for what happened on Monday. However, we were monitoring that situation. There was not any public safety concern the entire time Monday evening.
Regarding the President's son, Bardstown, he mentioned he moved some assets over to the Zanzibar area. When you arrived, did you find that, yes, we were close to having to take over, or anything that led you to believe, yes, this is a chance to happen?
So the question was, just to make sure I'm right, the question was that when we arrived at Zanzibar on Saturday night, did it look like we were having street takeovers or if they were starting to maybe get out of control in some capacity? No, because we had the resources there and they were able to deploy quickly, we were able to quell anything before it became an issue. We could quash it before it turned into a street takeover where we would have issues that we would constantly be addressing.
And the mayor's been talking about, bars getting their liquor license pulled. Is LMPD doing an enhanced presence and facilitating arrests coming out of bars or aiding the mayor in this effort to kind of crack down on problem areas other than street takeover?
To paraphrase the question, you're asking is LMPD working with the bars to basically ensure that when people walk out of the bars, they're not too intoxicated or causing any kind of issues? Is that kind of what you're asking?
Between the establishments and the mayor's office.
Well, and that's the thing about these types of issues is there's a multitude of people that are involved with this. We have a particular skill set for that we will do. Then you have the alcohol beverage control people that they will do more involved with the bars and what goes on in the bars. Ours is the public safety outside of the bars. That's where our main focus comes. If there's an issue with crowding in a bar or some type of liquor license issue in a bar, ABC would be the one to handle that. When everything gets pushed out into the street and it becomes a public safety, that's when we will intervene. Did I answer your question?
Moving forward, how many weekends you plan on doing this, having this increased presence, and how are the resources being allocated? Are you pulling officers from other divisions, or are you paying overtime? How are you doing that?
The question is, with the summertime, how are we going to continue to do things of this magnitude with these kind of problems? We are looking at reevaluating how we are doing the divvying of resources. We do have several overtime details that are throughout the city for a multitude of other things that we might try to condense to where it's more centralized, where we can utilize those resources for when we need to utilize those resources. But we also have rapid response on our patrol. We have patrol officers assigned to that division, district resource officers, detectives. We have people that we can put out there when we need to. So if we don't have the time for overtime details because we have something else going on, we have other resources that we can deploy to utilize there to ensure that we don't continue to have the same issues we had the past few weekends.
That increased presence every weekend throughout the summer, is that the plan?
Provided we don't have any mass kind of issues where it's going to deplete all of our resources, yes, you will see an increase in manpower down there in the Barstown Road corridor.
Another question about protests. The Justice Department was very critical in their report about LMPD's lack of preparedness in 2020. Mm-hmm. How are you more prepared today, both in terms of policy and training?
Right. So the question, so the Department of Justice was critical on LMPD's lack of preparedness when it came to protests in 2020, and how are we more prepared today than we were in 2020? To Josh Wood's question earlier, we've changed a lot of our policies, especially when it came our policy regarding force. We've done a lot of use of force training. So if you were talking about force, there's been a lot of training and policy changes in regards to that. We've also changed our civil disturbance and response policies. We've done a lot more training with our special response team and prepared our special response team to with scenarios and tabletop exercises to train for potential events like this. 2020 was unique in that it came on fairly unexpected. It happened very quickly. This week we've had kind of more notice on that there might be a protest, there might be an event. Getting in front of and talking to some of the organizers has also been beneficial. We didn't necessarily have that type of connection with a lot of people within the community back in 2020. So building those relationships over the past 5 years has also been instrumental in getting ahead and making sure that we have an appropriate response.
Could you one more question, Ms. Turner?
Oh, sir.
Let her get into it.
For the protests on Saturday, there are multiple protests that are going to be had. Do you guys have people on standby, or will you be present? What does that look like?
Yeah, a question about Saturday. There are multiple protests. Do we have people on standby? Yes, we have people prepared to handle protests and handle any sort of public safety issues as they might arise. There may be a chance that we don't need to intervene at all, and that would be fantastic. We allow people to protest and exercise their First Amendment. But yes, we will be in the area. We'll be monitoring.
David, grab your follow-up and then we'll.
Yeah, could you describe, well, I'm really interested in the training that you're doing now that maybe you weren't doing before. You talk about tabletop exercises. What is that? And when it comes to training, how much training are we talking about? Days? Are we talking about hours? I mean,
our SRT training has set monthly training. So there's different curriculum that they'll go through each month as far as what their training is and how they prepare for that.
Specifically for working protests.
Yes, that's their job is to respond to not just protests or mass demonstrations, but large-scale events. And so they'll talk about different scenarios that they might face in their training, in their monthly training that they have.